I'm meteorologist Matt Barrington. Sorry, having some microphone troubles there, trying to get it all working. I hope you're having yourselves a good Monday morning. Got the latest coming up on Gamma and Delta. The newest advisories just released by the National Hurricane Center. These just came out 10 a.m. The 10 a.m. updates just came out for both of these storms. So give you an update on what's going on out here with Gamma and Delta. All right, first off, Gamma thing really falling apart. I mean, the center of circulation's here. The storms are now up here. They're being ripped away by some upper level wind shear. So that's just carrying these over towards Peninsula Florida. And basically we got a center of circulation that doesn't have much left to it. So Gamma is struggling, to say the least. Gamma is going to continue to struggle. It's going to kind of wind itself down around the Yucatan, eventually just sort of fall apart and get torn apart as Delta gets closer to it. So here's Delta. These are the latest numbers, winds of 45 miles per hour. Now on this graphic, it looks like it jogs down to the south. You'll see this here. I'll kind of let it go back in the loop. Now the storm didn't move south. What happened is that the center of circulation fell apart, then reformed where the storms are at. That's showing a system that is now becoming much better organized, and we're seeing it starting to pick up in strength. Winds now 45 miles an hour. The movement is to the west at 7 miles per hour at the moment with Delta. We anticipate it'll take more of a northwest movement here before long. These are the Cayman Islands right here. As it approaches the Cayman Islands, this will be crucial exactly how strong it'll be. It looks like it's going to be a compact storm here at first. And as it moves this way, it'll find very warm waters, good conditions for development. Likely it will start growing fairly strong fairly quickly, so we might see a rapid intensification here with Delta as it moves off to the north and west. So let's look at its track. Hurricane Center has it getting up to hurricane strength somewhere between the Cayman Islands here and Cuba, and then continuing it as a Category 2 once it makes its way into the southern Gulf of Mexico, and then staying in Category 2 almost to landfall here as it makes its way to sort of landfall either in Louisiana or even into our area. You can see our whole viewing area, our whole coastline is included in the right side of this system, and this would be Friday during the day, like Friday afternoon, Friday evening, if it was to make its way towards us. So we are definitely fully in that cone. Not only are we in the cone, but we're in the right-hand side of it. And I think most viewers here, you're watching right now, we all know a little bit about tropical weather. The right side of a storm is not the side of the storm you want to be on. So it's a bummer situation all the way around. It just looks like we're going to have to deal with some level of impacts from the storm. It's too early to tell you exactly what those levels of impacts are going to be, because this will likely shift around somewhat. Let's look at some of the issues here, though, this thing will be dealing with. There is some hope for optimism here. The Hurricane Center is showing Category 2, 100-mile-per-hour winds, which would be similar in strength to Sally. This storm, it's going to be running into some issues. First off, all this brown stuff, that's dry air. That's dry air. This beautiful fall weather that we've had, that's dry air. That's not good for tropical systems. In fact, look at Gamma. It's getting its moisture ripped away from it, and it's going to be basically a dry system after that. Now, this is creating, here's Delta down here, it is creating its own area of moisture. You can see it's all wrapped around. So it'll keep that pocket of moisture as it moves in, but eventually some of this dry air is going to try to wrap itself into, which will hamper the system. Water temperatures, well, they're great for this system down here. I mean, that's rocket fuel down here. So this is one of the reasons why we think it'll grow into a pretty significant system, likely a Category 2, as it's down here in this part of the Gulf. Now, as it moves northward, it may be able to hold on to its strength, but then eventually it's going to run into some cooler waters, which won't be very good for it either. Then the last thing, this is really the most important thing, it's eventually, as it gets to the north, it's going to run into some very strong upper level wind shear. And I've always mentioned this. Let me grab the remote here. We look at these maps, they're two-dimensional, but a tropical system is not two-dimensional. It's got a vertical dimension. It's three-dimensional. And what happens when you have strong winds in the upper levels of the atmosphere? Think about these big thunderstorm clouds in a hurricane. The big cloud, and what happens is these strong upper-level winds hit the top of these things and start to make them lopsided. So that's not good for circulation when these storms start getting pushed over, get tilted over. And that's what happens when you have this going on. So looking at what we're seeing, it may very well be weakening as it comes in, barely holding on to its strength. Obviously, we still have to prepare like we're going to see a Category 2 hurricane. I don't want you to go that, discount this storm, I should say. I don't want you doing that. But we do have some hope that it'll be weakening as it comes on in, because it is going to be running into some issues here. The kind of issues that we wouldn't have had a month ago. This is due to the fall conditions. We have stronger winds in the upper levels of the atmosphere. We have drier air in place. These things will hamper. It's really just a matter of timing, exactly how fast it's moving, how long it's going to be dealing with those conditions. Can it hold on? These are questions that we don't have answers to yet, but just like I said, it's some hope. All right, so let's look at a couple models. Everybody that's joined here on Facebook, I do appreciate it. I know I'm always long-winded with these things, so bear with me. The European model, start with this one, Gamma Delta. And here we are at noontime tomorrow. Here it is down here. I've got the circle a little bit off, but it's where the rain is at. There's Gamma. Then it crosses into the Gulf Wednesday. These two really close together. Sort of what happens, it looks like Gamma just sort of gets ripped to pieces as Delta, the stronger system, gets closer to it. Here we are at noon, so this is due south of us, noon on Wednesday, and then we get to noon on Thursday. A tight system here, it looks like it's fairly strong at this point. Rain would wrap through our area. So with this scenario, this would be pretty far to our west. Now, we'd still be on the eastern side, so we get a lot of rain. And you can see that there on Thursday at lunchtime. I'm going to go ahead and stop it at midnight there, early Friday morning. We'd still be getting rain bands wrapping in, but the worst of the weather would be over in Louisiana with this system if it came in like this. Friday at noon, we'd be getting rain. Once again, the worst of the weather in Louisiana, then spreading into Mississippi. And then by Saturday morning, it's moving to the north of us, so we'd still be getting some leftover rains here on Saturday morning. So that's the European. Let me go with the American, the GFS model, and see what it shows here. It shows a very similar thing here at Wednesday at noon. It's actually a little farther south and really ripping apart what's left of Gamma at that point. So there's Delta. GFS showing it really strengthening as a very strong system here on Wednesday at lunchtime. And this model's also bringing the storm more over towards Louisiana. That's Thursday at noon. Here we are at midnight. I mean, really, it's a very similar setup, except for in the GFS model, it's stronger. That's really the main difference. But we would still be seeing rain bands wrapping around through the air, but we would not get the worst of the weather if this is where it ends up. Of course, there's still plenty of uncertainties here. Okay, I'm showing you our two main models, and they're showing almost exactly the same thing. It just looks like the GFS is a bit stronger here as it comes on in. That's noon on Friday. Midnight on Saturday, you see rain wrapping through our area. By Saturday morning, it would be done. All right, so our big models are going with a Louisiana landfall. You can see most of the other models are doing that as well. Let me move this forward. That shows Friday at 4 a.m. Let me go ahead and get to about lunchtime there. And you can see all these models here. HWRF, that's another hurricane-centric model. There's some of the different runs of the GFS, and they're all taking it basically to the same point. CMC is a Canadian, there's a little bit of an outlier there. So those are the different models and what they're going with here. And you can see they're pretty tightly, a lot of times with these spaghetti plots, I don't show them as much because they can be really confusing. A lot of times, I get rid of a lot of the garbage. You don't see 50 lines here because a lot of that stuff is garbage models. But there's a handful of models that are pretty good, and some of them are actually different runs of the same model. There's actually about 4 or 5 different GFS runs that are in here. And so anyway, they're tightly spaced, which shows that there is a lot of agreement here with the models at this point. So let's see if I can pull this up. So what does this tell us at this point? Okay, so high confidence, lower confidence. I just wanted to kind of point this out. We have high confidence. Well, it's already become what Delta, Tropical Storm Delta, will become a hurricane in the Gulf. That's high confidence that that'll happen. Northern Gulf Coast landfall, likely see some impacts in our area. Now, lower confidence, it's too early to know the exact intensity at landfall. Like I said, hopefully it'll be weakening. It looks like it'll be running into some issues, but we can't know that for sure yet. Too early to know the exact landfall. You see how wide the spread was. It goes anywhere from almost Lake Charles, Louisiana, all the way over to Panama City. So that's a pretty wide area. So we don't know the exact landfall yet. And so if we don't know the exact landfall, the exact intensity, obviously we're not going to know the exact levels of impacts. But we can tell you some things, like I said, with some confidence that we are going to have a landfalling hurricane late this week somewhere along the northern Gulf Coast, and we will get some level of impacts out of it. So we just have to start planning for the worst, hoping for the best. Once again, the center track is in Louisiana. Just showed you the models. They pretty much are all following that center line. That said, you know, a little jog to the right, things change. We've seen this with storms earlier this year. It's not out of the realm of possibility. Keep in mind this is a forecast cone. Okay, I know everybody focuses on the center, but what the Hurricane Center is saying, that it's just as possible that it could go up the right side of this cone, or just as possible to go up the west side of this cone. We'll know more in coming days. We'll get more information. The hurricane hunters fly down there. They get information out of the system. They take that data that they get out of the system. They plug it into these models that we look at, and that helps us with the modeling as well. So as you make your plans for this weekend, you're just going to have to plan to deal with this. I've already gotten some calls about Friday night football. Probably going to get delayed or moved around. It's just, I mean, the timing of this is just not good. It's going to be in here Friday evening. Some level of weather we'll have here in our area. A lot of other issues that we'll be dealing with. So heavy rain. There's some good news here is this will be a quick mover. This will not be, Sally, where it moved at 2 or 3 miles an hour. This is going to be moving through fairly quickly. That'll be helpful. Get it in, get it out. The less time it spins here, the less that lowers the level of damage. We saw with Sally, even though it was just a Category 2 with 100 mile an hour winds, the problem was it was moving 2 or 3 miles an hour, so those winds went over the same places over and over again for hours, and that's why there was so much damage, especially in Baldwin County where the center came in. So we're going to be keeping an eye on this for you over the coming week. I see a whole bunch of questions and stuff like that. I mean, you know, I'm giving you the best I can with the answers right now. There's obviously some, you know, a good bit of uncertainties. We don't have, you know, the track is pretty wide, so that doesn't give us any real, you know, it's hard to give you a real sense of exactly what the impacts will be in your community, in your county. We just have to prepare like, you know, this could be coming straight at us and that we're going to have to deal with a Category 2. So you got a boat down in the water. It didn't get destroyed by Sally. You know, yeah, get it out of the water probably. I would say get rid of the stuff outside that could blow around, but probably you've already done that. Most of your limbs and probably your weakest trees have all gone down too. But if you put out Halloween decorations, that sort of thing, you're going to want to take care of that stuff here this week. Once again, it is a strengthening system. We're seeing it sort of, the center has reformed underneath the highest clouds, which shows us a system that is getting its act together here this morning. Likely you'll be seeing some significant intensification through the day today, getting stronger as we go through the day today. Eventually it's going to start working its way up towards the Cayman Islands, up towards, and there's something else to mention here. This will be very much a key, and this will really give us a lot of some ideas here of what's happening with this system. All right, so right now it's here. It's actually reformed its center farther to the south, which is why all these models I keep showing you have it more going into sort of central Louisiana. So what's going to be key is, where does it cross? Does it go right down the pipe here between Cuba and Cozumel? The farther west it goes, closer to the Yucatan, just think of that trajectory. The farther west it comes in through here, the more likely the storm is to be west of us. Now, if the center reforms or starts jogging a bit to the east and ends up going over this tip of Cuba here, that's going to get it closer to our area. So we're going to be watching very closely that trajectory. Where does it come off here? And what I mean by that, let me go and I'll draw some lines for you. So I can get this to work. All right, so let's get a line here that comes up right over Cuba. That's going to keep it more to the east. But if it follows more over here towards Cozumel, and then we'll be looking at more of a westerly track. So this is going to be very key. Tomorrow, we'll be seeing this trajectory. We'll be seeing if it's going to go over the western tip of Cuba or if it's going to be coming closer to the Yucatan. And that's going to be very key. And I'll show you once again on the models here. Most of them have it basically cutting right through the middle there. Not very many have it coming. Now watch that one that has the CMC, which is the Canadian, has it over the western tip of Cuba, and that's the one that wants to bring it closer to us. So that would be the case. So we're going to be watching that very closely. What's that trajectory like through the strait there between Cuba and the Yucatan Peninsula of Mexico? That will tell us a lot about where this storm will end up. So we'll be watching all that for you. I know I've been sort of dragging on here. For everybody that has joined here this morning, I hope you have yourselves a great day. We'll keep tracking this for you upcoming throughout the week, and we will let you know what is happening with Gamma and, of course, more importantly, what is going to happen with Delta. Just be ready for it. It's a real possibility here as we go through this upcoming week.